I thought that because the Camaro is dead and they're bringing out the EV Charger, that the age of muscle cars is potentially coming to a bit of a close.
As we've known it for a long time.
Yeah. And so Zach and I thought that we would do a list of our top 5 favorite American muscle cars. What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Smoking Tire Podcast. Today's episode is brought to you by Off the Record. You know, Off the Record, we talk about them all the time on this show. They help you get out of tickets. That's basically it. Off the Record is a service that connects you to a qualified attorney in a jurisdiction that you got a ticket in, right? So all you got to do is go to offtherecord.com/TST or download the Off the Record app and use code TSTPOD. That's TSTPOD. Then it's super, super easy, right? You just input some basic information, scan a photo or snap a photo of that ticket and include that along with a brief description of the incident. And Off the Record will set you up with an attorney who will fight that ticket on your behalf. You don't have to go to court. You don't have to really do anything. They handle it all. They have an amazing success rate. And if you don't get those points off your record, you don't have to pay Off the Record. It's really that easy. Those tickets, I know it's tempting to plead guilty and just get on with your life, but the fact is, they will follow you. Your insurance could go up. It could jeopardize your livelihood. It could cost you a lot more money down the road, and it's not good stuff. So, offtherecord.com/TST or code TSTPOD on the Off the Record app. That'll get you 10% off all your bookings with Off the Record indefinitely. The code is good forever. Make sure you've got it in your phone. Make sure you keep it handy. That way, if you get pulled over, you're good to go. All right, folks, on today's episode, it's a cruise show. Me and Zach are in studio talking about our top 5 muscle cars of all time, American muscle cars. Plus, I have a little bit of thing I got to fix on the old Bentley, and we talk about why Ferrari and other brands don't have experience centers like Porsche. It's a cruise show. Welcome to the Smoking Tire Podcast. Wait a minute. Is this just a video stream of Matt, like, bleep, bleep, taking notes on things?
With voiceover of your writing process?
Yeah. Hello.
'Twas the best of times, the worst of times.
This is a cruise show. Yes. 'Twas the best of times. The pens sold out.
Nice.
That's good.
They're awesome.
So now we need to figure out if we're going to do another one and what it's going to look like. The problem with coming up with, like, a product collab is, like, this is the best idea. Like, this one is the best one. So if we do another one, it then has to be
equally best,
not the best,
no,
or different.
Don't say that.
Different,
it has
best.
to be equally best.
So I hope everyone. I got a lot of messages from people who received and are enjoying their pens. So that's good. I'm enjoying my pen.
I like it a lot.
It's very nice. Right, Super Bowl weekend. Did you watch the Super Bowl?
No, I don't have a way to. I mean, I could sign up for something, but I don't care.
Oh yeah, that's right. That's a good point. The only reason we were able to watch some of it is because we steal streaming using Hannah's parents' cable.
Oh,
that's the move. The move is because all of us, millennials and Gen Xers and whatever, our parents still have cable.
True.
So we just have to use the login, and that gets us a lot of things.
You can also use an antenna to get like 6K.
That's a good point. You could get
free
CBS.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
It's really high res.
Yeah,
but
some dog ears.
It works.
Yeah, you
It's
can.
wild.
Yes, you can do the dog ears.
No,
I actually think someone brought over like a USB antenna. Or like some kind of antenna someone brought to our house once for this purpose.
It's like a coat hanger that goes into an HDMI cable.
It's like, basically, yeah, it pretty much was. But no, now we just, maybe it's fraud. I don't know, but we steal streaming using Hannah's parents' account. And so that got us CBS. We watched a little bit of it. I did like the Hyundai Santa Fe, the Viking commercial. Did you see that?
I haven't watched any of the commercials.
That was a good one. That was cute. I liked that one. Most of the commercials very much sucked ass. Most were not good.
I know a guy that directed one of the commercials.
The couch potato one was quite good. I thought that was very funny. And the Schwarzenegger one was cute. But the Kia or Hyundai one, I keep saying Kia because it's the Hyundai Santa Fe, which is now much like squarer. I guess it worked because we're talking about it on a car podcast. They've got new styling on the Santa Fe, and it looks like square now.
Oh, yeah.
Kind of like the Kia EV9 vibe. And it's the commercial. It's like a family of Vikings driving one up a mountain. It's cute. It was a cute. Actually, I kind of like how it looks. Like you got to wait till we see it in person and see if this styling carries over to looking good in real life. It might end up being a little Bronco sporty, in real life. But I think it looks nice.
Let's see. Here's the front.
But just click to the right there. Go the 2023 to 2024. I mean, that's a pretty big about face.
Huge change.
I
hate these tiny lights that so many cars have had.
Yeah,
they've gone. The real headlights are down here.
Yeah, they go from curvy to boxy.
Yeah, like you said, Kia, the EV9. I think they've just seen maybe the response to the Ioniq 5 and the other kind of 80s blocky stuff.
Yeah,
and they're just pushing that direction.
Yeah, they've gone 8-bit.
The new EV9 looks really cool.
It does look nice.
It stands out, even though it looks a little bit like the new Land Cruiser.
Right.
But it's a good change.
Yeah, and I think boxy is back in.
But they probably still have the coefficient of drag of smoothie.
Yeah, well, they've figured that out, that you can make a boxy thing reasonably aerodynamic.
Here's the profile. Okay.
I don't know about that color. The darker color works better, I think.
Yeah.
That also looks like a rendering. That doesn't look.
It does.
Yeah.
That's
I like it in the darker colors. The white is not for me. This flat green gold
bronzy thing.
Bronze is kind of nice. That's cool.
Cool.
So anyway, that was a good commercial. But the first quarter of Super Bowl, now that's the best time to drive anywhere in this city.
Oh yeah.
All year. I mean, Hannah and I were like, do we care about this game? No. Let's go to Manhattan Beach. Let's do a little shopping. Let's take a little
go
beach.
to Disneyland.
Take a beach walk,
and
it was nice. No traffic. Took the Porsche. It was excellent.
Cool.
But then if you go shopping, everyone, the salespeople, they all need you. They need an in. Got any plans for the big game? No, I'm here. I'm in this fucking Viore store right now. I'm not I'm doing the same thing as you. Well, I'm buying. You know what I bought? I'm very excited about. Yeti has a cocktail shaker top.
Okay.
Because we learned this cocktail. We talked about it last show. The Brown Derby in Palm Springs. It's very easy to make. Fresh grapefruit juice, bourbon, honey syrup. And honey syrup is just honey and water melted together. Very easy. Shake it and it's delightful. Everything about it is great. But we're like, do we have a cocktail shaker? I'm like, no. I was like, but I have a Yeti cup and that's a cocktail. What's the difference between fucking nothing?
Very, very little.
Nothing. So we're like, maybe they make a cocktail shaker top, and they do.
Do they make the one that goes over it?
Yeah,
and
it's like the cone.
And then they have the pourer?
Yeah. It's just
cool.
like a regular cocktail shaker top, but it fits in a Yeti cup. Mm-hmm. It's like, because I got 30 of these things. This one's from Polestar. So, yeah, every car launch you get a Yeti.
Yeah.
They all say Range Rover or Polestar on them. I got so many of these things. So yeah, you got a Yeti, and they're all the packaging is it's for making drinks in the wild. I'm like, no, it's for making drinks in my kitchen. but it's Go
if you want to make a martini while you're off-roading, that's a very Safari Defender move.
Right. Yeah. Like it's like it matches the Rivian pull-out kitchen.
Yeah.
You can't be in the middle of nowhere and not have 100% of the things you would have in your kitchen.
Make Manhattan while you're away from Manhattan.
Yeah, there's a lot of Yeti products that are a little, there's a Yeti ice bucket now. That's the Yeti stuff, but it's a huge bucket, and I'm like, I don't know if that works.
Like a beer bucket kind of thing.
Yeah, but $150 in Yeti,
which is different than a cooler, which is not. Yeah.
Yeah, they're really getting into the niches.
They are. I have what size is it? It's almost like a rocks glass size, which is fine, but it doesn't fit in a cup holder in a car.
So there's the one that looks like the wine glass, the goblet one that's sort of round, that I think is meant for day drinking wine.
Sauv Blanc is better when it's cold.
Yeah, and then someone as swag gave me one of these that's half the size.
Exactly.
Of this. That's the one you have? Yeah.
Which is, it's fine for around the house.
Yeah.
But it's it keeps tea too hot, so you got to wait longer to drink it, and it doesn't fit in a car cup holder.
Yeah, sometimes the problem with one of these is I put my coffee in here, but then I can't touch it for a half hour.
Yeah.
It's too hot.
Right.
Yeah, you got to leave the lid open a little bit.
You got to pre-cool it and then pour it in, and then it's perfect.
Exactly.
So yeah, that's what I did yesterday. Also, put in the order for the Macan.
You did?
Submitted the build.
Oh, shit.
Submitted the build. Yeah, because I found out from my dealer. For what? EV. Yeah, Macan EV, the 4.
Yeah.
Pretty much the same as the one that we built. They're not coming until the fall. So like orders that go in now, we're looking at like September. So by the time that arrives, we will figure out how to pay for it.
Now, here's a question. Did you put this order in before or after the Bentley developed an issue that required it to get flatbedded somewhere?
After. But I don't. The two are not related.
Are they?
The two are not related. The basically the dealer said, my dealer, shout out Town Porsche, Englewood, New Jersey, hit me up, the owner of the dealer, and said, hey, we're about to open the order banks. I said, well, when if it goes in now, when will the car be delivered? He said September, October. That to me that's a long enough period of time. You know, like if it was May, I would have said, no, I'm going to wait because I don't want that car now. I want it like later.
Why?
Because.
Well, wait, when does the Mach-E go back?
April, first week in April.
Right, so you wouldn't want.
I want a gap. I want
a
a gap. I want to be forced to daily the Bentley. I don't want another option. I want to be in that game.
Right, as soon as it's back from the shop.
Right. We'll get to that in a second. But I also, originally I was like, I don't want to get a first year car because I don't want to have problems.
Yeah.
But then I thought about the Mach-E and the advantage of having a long-term car that we could do videos of,
yep.
and that maybe did have some problems that could result in more video. Like,
true.
There's as a consumer, you shouldn't buy the early one.
A consumer's trash is a content creator's gold.
Correct. Absolutely correct.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not saying I want to buy an expensive car where things go wrong, but I'm saying getting an early one and being able to do a long-term review of it is advantageous given how popular this car will probably be. Mm-hmm. Right?
Yeah.
And like there's no other interesting EVs really that are coming out that I want to do something like that with.
Well, until the DeLorean EV comes out eventually. Right. And then you'll want that.
Yeah. I did float to Hannah the idea of doing that 18-month lease on the Lucid. And then she reminded me of all the things that drove me nuts about the Lucid. And then we were like, yeah, that's probably not right.
Yeah. Oh yeah, the key thing.
The key thing, and
maybe they've updated that. I don't know.
Just that kind of stuff. We're like, that's not what we want in our lives.
Does the Mach-E EV have a power button? Do you know? Or is it just
the Macan?
Macan.
Yes.
What did I say?
Yeah, you said Mach-E. It does have a power button. It does. Yeah,
because it's a carryover from the Taycan.
Same as Taycan, same as Cayenne. Yeah, it does have a power button. I don't give a fuck what Johnny says or anybody else.
I like the power button too.
A power button.
I do too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I am not too lazy to press a button to turn a thing on.
Yeah.
It's not.
If my DVD player is on standby and then I hit a button to turn it on, fine.
That's okay. Yeah, I'm deeply all right with that. Mm-hmm. So the order. So we did put in the order. Who knows when it'll actually show up? And then I think we'll go to New Jersey and we'll drive it back.
Oh, that's cool.
I mean that'll be a fun piece of entertaining content.
Let's do that.
Yeah.
Which route would we take?
Northern, southern, I don't know.
Oh wait, it'd be what time of year? September, October?
Fall?
Let's do northern.
Yeah.
So it's all-wheel drive this.
Yeah,
crossover.
that's what I would do.
Let's go through Colorado.
It'd be really nice. But and hopefully the Charge Network is happy to work with Porsche. Mm-hmm. I don't know.
We'll find out.
Yeah, I don't know, but I think that's going to be a really cool car, and it'll give me a summer of Bentley. Bentley. Mm-hmm. Okay, fine. So the Bentley broke. You want to hear about that?
I do.
So you know,
I didn't know that you ordered the car right after it broke. It just makes me laugh.
It is a funny coincidence.
It's because you were like, we got this Bentley. It's a new daily, and I'm not laughing at your misery. I'm just saying the timing was funny. And
it is funny.
And now we need a different daily because the daily's back on the truck.
It is funny. Yeah. But I swear, if they said you can order the Macan now, it'll be here in May, I would have said I'll wait until July and order it because I want it for the next fall, winter. But, okay, so, like if a car sits for a while, and like this car, the Bentley was driven very regularly until about 3 years ago when the owner got like too sick to really drive it. And so it was driven like a little bit, but not very much. Like it had like less than 500 miles put on it in the last 3 years.
Whoa.
So like not much. So, the first thing you do is you take it and you have it gone through, right? And I, I said to Charlie, like, look at everything. He did. And we got it back and it was fine. We've done about 800 miles since then. And this happened with the Ferrari. This happened with the Lamborghini. And this, it happened with actually my Fox body. Now you put the car into like regular service and there's going to be like after a few hundred miles or 1,000 miles, there's going to be another thing. Mm-hmm. Maybe it's one, but like something else will be not used to the stresses of daily heat cycling, pressure cycling, etc., and will fail. Generally, it's like some kind of a seal. And so that is what's happened. And I put a photo of it on the Instagram. And basically what happened, I was driving it the other day, and all of a sudden I started to hear this high-pitched sort of whine noise that seemed to be related to both RPM and steering input. So the higher I revved it, the louder it got, and also the more I input steering, the higher it got. Okay, this is somehow related to power steering. I called Charlie. He says, check your fluid. You might be a little low. The steering was like working fine, and so he didn't do much to it other than check the fluid at the time, and it was not low at the time. I check it. It's low. Okay. Fortunately, this happened just between here and the house, so I didn't drive very far with the noise on, and I'm like in tune enough with the car that I was like, that's not right. It was faint enough that Hannah, if she was driving, this is why I want this for Hannah, because God forbid Hannah this happened to her. She might have just kept driving all day. She might, and then like something burned out. That
be
was,
okay. The steering might just get really, really heavy.
Right. So I checked it. It's low. I buy a bottle of fluid, and it takes quite a lot. It takes like 10, 11 ounces of power steering fluid, which is kind of a lot. But there haven't been any noticeable leaks or anything. Charlie says, look for leaks. Then there really aren't. I top it off. I drive it 5-6 more miles. I park it in my driveway.
Sound goes away when you pour fluid in?
The sound goes away instantly. I filled the fluid to the max line. I started the car up, and it made the sound for like 2 or 3 seconds, and then the sound just vanished. Okay. And then it just went away. So then I parked it for the night, and the next morning, there was just this little drip that's about 1.5 inches across, directly underneath the little axle boot for the power steering rack there. I don't know if that's the axle boot. It's one of the boots. It's like a bellows thing. And you can see that the bellows is a little wet. Mm-hmm. So, okay, now we know where it's coming from. And, I tell Charlie, he says, okay, sometime next week, bring it in. Just, keep an eye on the fluid. If it's dripping, if it gets worse, let me know. Okay. I drive it from my house to South Bay shop to meet a client. And it's only, 8-9 miles. It's not very far. I don't get 3 miles before the whining noise comes back.
Whoa.
And now I'm on the highway going south, and there appears to be some smoke behind the car that looks like the car is like burning oil, like that kind of smoke. Well, if you look at the photo,
yep.
the exhaust pipe is directly behind this.
Yeah, so the fluid is splattering on the exhaust pipe,
correct.
lighting on fire.
Yes, and it's getting smoky. So that's a little scary. You don't want that.
Yeah.
So I make it to the shop to South Bay. We see obviously that this is the problem. I check again. All 10 ounces I put in is gone.
Whoa.
So it doesn't drip when it's parked. It drips when it runs. And when it runs, it drips a lot.
Wow.
Yeah. So, okay, this is now bad. So this morning I called Charlie, he goes, yes, send it in. So it's not like the car could drive. Like I could have refilled it and driven it to Charlie's if I wanted. But I got Haggerty unlimited tows. Like, it's within range, so that's why I didn't call a flatbed because I was stranded on the side of the road. I called a flatbed because I don't have to deal with this myself. So fortunately, Charlie has all the parts. He stocks them. So I
Hopefully
said
it's just hoses or something. Like
well,
maybe there's a little
he
thing
thinks
leaking.
it's the seals, and
Okay.
and when he said it's very common when these cars don't get driven that the fluid settles in the bottom half of the seal, which of the O-ring. That part stays lubricated. The top half dries out when it pressurizes. So this
Comes out
so,
the top.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he said the way to have this not happen is to drive the car regularly so this seal self-lubricates, which makes sense.
Yeah.
And he said, it's good that I figured this out quickly and didn't keep driving it because I could have burned the pump out, and the pump is totally fine. I only drove it
great.
like 3 miles with this happening. He's like, people drive these things 40, 50 miles. They burn the pump out. You know, the thing is like bone dry. He's like,
Right.
at least it's just that. I don't know exactly how much it is, but he has all the parts. He said if the car gets up there today, which the flatbed took it up there today, and he said less than a week he'll have it back. So that's and maybe there will be one more thing. Maybe there will be one more seal. Now there was another one that fixed itself, which happens sometimes.
Folks, just a quick break from the action to let you know that there are less than 5 of our Notice Canyon orange dial watches remaining. You can still buy them. There's just a couple left. We really want these things to sell out. It's an amazing watch. You've heard Johnny talk about them on our show because he bought one, and me and Zach have been wearing them. They're just, everyone who puts them on loves them. And just taking this moment to let you know there's only a couple left. They will sell out very soon. So head over to Notice Watches website. That's NODUS. Order one for yourself because this is the last chance you're ever going to have. Now, back to the show.
The rear axle, the rear shock, which is a gas shock, had a couple little drips when I first got it. And Charlie said, I have the parts. Don't worry about this, but keep an eye on it. Check it every couple days for drips. And I never saw drips again. He said, most likely driving it, this one will fix itself. And it did. It lubricated the seal, self-lubricating thing, fixed itself. And I haven't seen drips from that one again.
Nice.
So
That's cool.
this is sort of what happens when you take a car that's been sitting and put it back into regular service. No guarantees that nothing else will happen, but like I knew one more thing would pop up, and so this is it. So it's not a huge thing.
No, I'm sure the pump is the most expensive part of that system anyway. So if you can save that. That's good.
So mild Bentleying issue. And yeah, you could joke that it's a British car, and if it's not leaking, it has no fluids. But the fact is, this car is not really a leaky car. So
I want to see the front because I saw one of these very similar to yours at the gas station.
yeah,
It had so it didn't have
Did it have-
it didn't have the chrome rectangle around the lights. It was like the lights were separated by body color.
So
paint.
it was a later one.
I think it
so
was later.
the
It was
94
black.
to 98 one didn't have the chrome on it. It was
Okay.
all black on the later ones.
All
Yeah.
right, it's a black car too.
If
but
you
it was
were
cool.
if one were shopping a Turbo R, you probably want the 94 to 98 one. It had a little more power. It had a center console shifter instead of the column shifter, which people find to be a little more desirable. It had 16-inch wheels
Wait,
instead of 15s.
but I like the column shifter because you have a nice center console with all the fancy
I got
buttons
all
and
funny-
the dual zone and all
yeah.
that stuff. And it like otherwise you'd have a T handle sticking out of there that I
Yeah.
think would clutter it.
It
Column
doesn't.
shifter.
I don't mind it either way.
Cadillac style.
I do wish I had the 16-inch wheels because then you get more tire options and the wheels look a little better. Although my chromes are growing on me. I did have.
Just swap on some HREs.
I had 2 different people offer me money for this car so far at the gas station.
Really?
Yeah. I had one guy like in a pickup truck roll in with his wife and was like, "You want to sell that?" And I'm like, "No." And he's like, "Come on, I'll offer you." And I was like, "No." And he asked how many miles were on it, and I told him. He was like, "Oh, you're killing me."
Wow.
Yeah. People are into this thing.
Wow.
Yeah.
The chromes are cool, but I think if you put rims on it at some point,
Yeah.
could be cool.
I'm stoked Charlie can get it fixed quickly because I'm driving it to Vegas next week because we're going to see U2 at the Sphere. And so I really I want to roll it to Vegas.
Yeah.
I got to go to Vegas twice next week. I'm going
McLaren.
Sunday night for McLaren, and then I'm going Friday night for U2.
How long are you staying there for U2? One night?
Just one night.
Okay.
Yeah. So, but I'm excited to roll. Christian's going to come with us, and so I'm thinking about just making Christian drive and me and Anna can sit in the back to really get the experience.
Yeah, I bet he'd love to drive.
An English chauffeur, he'd be about it.
I bet he'd even do it. Maybe not the whole backseat thing.
But I'm driving the G63 to Vegas for this weekend, Sunday. That should be okay too.
It's so funny that we won't mention the manufacturer we were emailing that was like giving us mileage restrictions for this company. This is
they sell regular cars.
They sell very regular cars.
Yeah.
Whereas G-Wagon, they're like, sure,
whatever.
800-mile road trip.
They don't care.
Have a good time.
Yeah, they don't care.
It's funny.
It's. I mean, I don't want to say it's inconsistent. Usually, it's pretty consistent. The more expensive the car, the more likely there will be a mileage restriction.
Right.
And once you cross 200,000, 300,000, then you start getting restricted mileage. And that's fine. Usually that's more than enough for a test.
It's like an inversion where the mileage you're given is like 1,000th of the price of the car.
Yeah, pretty much. Right. But if the car is like under 150,000, which is most cars on the market, there's never a mileage restriction. This is the first time I've ever been told of any kind of mileage restriction for a car that is a truly affordable car. I've never heard of a mileage restriction before.
Yeah.
So they've got their reasons, fine, whatever, and I've asked for permission to go around the mileage restriction for the thing that we want to do with this car, which I hope you guys will enjoy once we do it. But it was weird to get that response from this company that sells regular cars.
Yeah.
So yeah, the Bentley, I am still high level of confidence. And shout out to Charlie Agapoo keeping the Bentleys on the road. Otherwise, I tell you, man, I'm driving this car. It makes me real happy.
Yeah, it's awesome.
It's just such a it's this kind of like old world glide, and it's so cushy and comfortable and quiet and I don't feel the least bit of need to drive aggressively at all. I'm just rolling, like in the Delica, which has like 80 horsepower, your top speed is 65.
Yeah.
So you can only go so fast, and you're like, this is what I'm doing. This is it. This is all I got. Or the POW, Hannah's little POW, 57 horsepower, 65 is it. This is all I got. I'll get there when I get there. In the Bentley, it's the same kind of vibe. I mean, it can go much faster, but the mental state is the world will wait for me. They'll be there when I arrive.
I was going to say you're probably just very relaxed in it because it's like sitting in business class.
Yeah,
but I appreciate your honesty with the attitude. You're like, the world will wait, which is the attitude of many people in business class.
Yeah, in Bentleys too.
Yeah, also in Bentleys. I saw a Continental Speed on the road the other day, like
Lovely
a new
car.
one,
Yeah.
amazing. But you just don't. I don't see the speed out there in the wild that much. And it's just nice white rolling.
I think I got a Bentley. I think I got another V8S for the Smoky 600 rally in May, which will be perfect. Speaking of road and track rallies, the Arizona Desert Run entries are now open. Experiences.roadandtrack.com. It's going to be this fall. I have made the route. And Arizona Desert Run is going to include track time at the Radford Racing School. It's going to be Scottsdale, Sedona, and then high desert. It's going to be a lovely, lovely high Arizona desert. That's going to be November of this year, November 2024. Entries are open now. And I really like that little logo they've made. It's a fun little cartoon logo.
That's nice.
Yeah. I want to get that on a patch.
Oh, yeah. Oh, they should do patches for
Patches
the
would be
events.
fun. Yeah, that would be fun.
That would be good.
I should talk to the team about that.
Yeah.
About the swag bag.
Can we plug real quick? Go watch my video of the Vorsteiner M3. That video went up today.
I think you undersold it. The title says $140,000 M3. I thought it was more than that.
I thought that was what it cost to build. But I mean, if I'm wrong,
I thought it was more.
If you can get a better estimate from the PR gentleman, but they bought it for what 20 or something like that, and then it's got like all just the carbon alone.
Yeah, it has
without paying is
10x
12
the
grand.
mods. 10x what they paid in mods.
Yeah. They double the price just by putting the carbon fiber parts on. But interesting car, polarizing sound, totally different hardware than my car. So it was really fun to drive something that was so different. And so go watch that video.
Yeah. And I didn't watch the video yet because I drove it and I was there and we've talked about it. How does it sound on video compared to real life?
Bad.
Okay.
It sounds bad in the drive-bys.
Yeah, really bad.
It's really buzzy. A lot of people said it sounds like my 350Z or it sounds like my neighbor's 350Z.
Yeah.
Someone told a funny story where their kid had they described it as fart can Civic, and they did a road trip with them, and after 100 miles, they ordered a new exhaust. Like mid-trip, you're getting a different muffler.
Yeah,
so I like that.
That car it inspired one of the most epic car burns I've ever heard from the gardeners at my house. I brought that car home for one night, and my gardener said to me, "How'd you make an M3 sound like a 350Z?" And I was like, "Oh shit, that's nasty.
It's so good.
That's a fucking nasty burn." And Peter from Vorsteiner, head of Vorsteiner, founder, he texted me that he has already ordered a new
I put a
exhaust.
lower third in because I knew that the aggressive flames of the commentariat would have been pretty loud.
he's
I was
already-
like, just so you know, they know, and they listen to you,
Yeah.
and they got a different exhaust.
Yeah.
Because that's one of the only knocks against that car.
Yeah, it is possible to make an M3 sound pretty good. My Dynan car sounded great, I thought. It didn't. You just have to not. There's a point beyond which you don't really get more power.
Yeah.
And you just got to stop.
I mean, it's to each their own, but I don't think it's a universally wonderful. There's some engines where you just, no matter how loud you turn the volume up, they still sound awesome.
Right.
This is not one for me.
Right.
And this one was all the way
What
up.
is a car that sounds great at any volume?
V12. Almost any V12.
Sure. Yeah.
The louder
yeah.
it gets, the closer to F1 you get. And we
Yeah.
have such positive association with that. I would say that's pretty good.
That's pretty good. I think you're right. I mean, even those D-bag Aventador owners that go straight, like those sound. Then it becomes about the driver. Then it's about can you act tastefully.
Yes.
Yeah. That's a good one. The Mercedes V12. When you get to Zonda levels, that starts to sound better and better the louder it gets. Yeah, there's not a lot of bad sounding V12s, right? No. Yeah.
Yeah, they sound really good. And maybe like small displacement V8s, I think. Like they get louder. And maybe that's because we have association with race cars, but we've heard inline sixes in race cars. Not as many though. I bet that's some of it. We just go, oh, this sounds like a Ferrari but louder.
Yeah, like there's certain someone was circulating a video of the M1 Pro car, BMW M1 Pro cars, which is a very loud, catless inline six with like the crazy induction noise too, and that sounded pretty good. But I'm not sure I'd want to hear that on a road car. It might be a little much.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's to each their own.
To
but-
guarantee a good loud engine, though, a V12 is a lock.
Yeah.
Like if you're talking about small blocks and stuff like that, then there's a lot more nuance because you got great sounding ones, and then you've got some if you just run open headers on an LS, it sounds awful.
Yeah, that's true. It can also just be too much.
Yeah.
I don't know. But it also depends on what it's doing. Like a monster truck is basically an open header V8. And the sound fits the use and the vehicle.
Yeah.
So we go, oh, cool.
Yes.
But if it sounded like that in traffic or if there was like an open header C7, it might be a bit much.
Right. I think there's a tone to it as well. But if you want to guarantee a lock, great sounding loud car, V12 is pretty locked in.
Yeah.
There's you never seen a V12 where you're like, wow, that sounds like trash.
No.
It really
Ever.
doesn't
I
happen.
don't think it's existed.
No, it
Maybe if
doesn't.
there was like a semi truck in the 40s with a V12 where the pistons were coffee cans, maybe. I don't
There's
know.
some where it doesn't sound like much. Like the Jaguar V12s, like from the XJS.
Yeah.
They don't really sound like much. I've never heard one with a super open pipe.
Neither have I.
But the street cars, whatever.
That's fine. Let's see if we can find one.
Like
Because that's also, it's not the car, it's not the market, but maybe
Jaguar V12 race car. Yeah, V12 racing engine. I don't know if that XJS is a 12. The Bathurst one.
Oh,
I'm not sure that's a 12.
that's also, and this isn't.
It might
really
be
the same.
That and the Le Mans engine. I don't. Oh, here we go. Mount that. I guess it is a 12. That this is the one we talked about before. This one is a 12. Ooh.
Ads.
Mute ads. We don't have to skip them because we're supportive of YouTube. But like, let's skip, and then let's see what we got here.
I'm not going to show the footage or we get flagged, but I just want to hear the incline.
So this one's more like thundering. You know?
Oh no, it's very V12.
Oh yeah, it is. The in-car is quite V12. Oh yeah, how about that? Okay.
Kind of buzzy. I think the thundering was probably the car that went past before it.
It might have, yeah. That's okay. That's a good one. Go Jaguar.
That's awesome.
Yeah, V12 is that. Speaking of cars that sound really good, should we go to today's main topic? I thought that because the Camaro is dead and they're bringing out the EV Charger, that the age of muscle cars is potentially coming to a bit of a close.
As we've known it for a long time.
Yeah. And so Zach and I thought that we would do a list of our top 5 favorite American muscle cars. And
new and old, because someone thought it was only new cars. Well, of course, I did not think that.
No.
That'd be a very small number.
No, my list is primarily old.
Yeah. Name your top 5 2023 muscle. There's 5.
Yeah, there are all of them.
Yeah, so we went the whole span of time.
Yeah. Mine are, in fact, all pretty much old. My newest one is 40 years old.
Oh, I have 2 new ones.
Okay.
Newish.
All right.
And yeah, but we'll get to it.
All right, well, you go first.
I mean, 67 GTO.
Okay.
It's my favorite year of the GTOs aesthetically, mostly because the angled lights, I feel like it just had a lot more attitude.
Somewhere between boxy and curvy? Halfway between?
Exactly. Like
boxy
it has some
top,
of the curve
curvy
of
bottom.
Chevelle, but then you have like the tapered grille was rare back then.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of cars had the flat rectangle of some kind, and I just like the vertical stack lights. I just think it had a lot of attitude and a lot of shape to it.
I, too, have a GTO.
I figured you would.
I do have a GTO. My GTO is the 1970 GTO Judge.
Right.
Fairly obvious choice. I think a great muscle car should be part cartoon character. So the Judge and its sort of Scooby-Doo font. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's a straight 70s font.
Yeah,
for sure.
And whatever's going on with those over fender graphics is incredibly silly.
It's so.
The name a muscle car should have a fun cartoon name. The Judge is a great cartoon name,
like Super B.
Yeah,
or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, that's all that fun stuff. My dad, his first car was a 72 Judge, which is I don't know if it was a 72 Judge. It was a 72 GTO. Yeah, it was a Judge. It was that orange.
Oh, they had integrated bumper.
Yeah, so for 72, they're actually very rare. After 71, they went back to being an option package for the Le Mans rather than a full standalone model. So the 72 has the big scoops down at the nose, whereas the 70 and 71 have the small scoops.
They're set back, too.
They're set back. Mm-hmm. Yeah, my dad's, despite it being my dad's, I like the 70 and 71 better.
I want to see. I was just curious what the interiors were like. Wow, you know what?
The bucket seats.
So similar. This is like the 65, basically.
Yeah.
Like they kind of kept it the same.
Yeah. Oh, that's a different one.
Oh, wait, that was
this one. That's the one. Yeah, the one on the right there's. Yeah, that's what it's got. It's got a slightly different. It's got the biggest glove box you could imagine.
Yeah.
It's like the size of a microwave. That thing.
Yeah, it really is.
Yeah, but I like the 3-spoke steering wheel. That's a good one. So I mean, the GTO, that's the car that really invented the muscle car.
Mm-hmm. Back in 65,
64, 65. And I really, Pontiac in particular is such being a dead brand, you know, and
Yeah.
being like GM's like fun brand. It was always positioned as the fun brand. Plus, you had John DeLorean in there playing around.
Their designs were great.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the Firebird, which I think kind of copied the Camaro, both GM products, but they made it stand alone. But yeah, the GTO is basically called the first muscle car back in '64. But this is like when they were small, and I think they they grew and grew and grew, and then '70s for me was when they got big and long and bulbous.
And how funny is it that Ferrari came out with a 250 GTO in '63, and 1 year later, Pontiac ripped off the name.
Yeah.
And somehow didn't get
different.
sued.
Let's
I mean, how did
see.
Pontiac not get their face? I mean, were there no such thing as global trademarks? Did Ferrari just have like no money or like not care?
Let's see.
Is this on Reddit? What is it? Oh, Quora.
I don't know if we don't always get the best answers here.
Oh, I don't know. Oh, the designation did not actually belong.
Oh,
Oh. Oh, so the 250. Huh. Oh, okay. Well, this is someone on Quora named Jeff Pinner who says that Ferrari couldn't actually own the trademark of GTO at all. The 250 GTO is like a sort of casual name, and this designation GTO merely tells buyers that they could race the car in FIA distance racing. So,
well, I guess it's like RS. There was a Camaro RS.
Sure.
Almost. There was also Porsche 911 RS. Maybe it's that.
Camaro
like,
RS was first, but yes.
I don't know the order, but I'm
And they
just
meant
saying
different
they've
things,
existed
but yeah.
all over the place.
Yeah.
So-
Maybe all right. So maybe you just couldn't trademark GTO. Okay, that's why. But it's not like they didn't know about that.
Oh, for sure.
They
They're
definitely.
like, that looks nice.
They definitely did. All right, GTO, an obvious one. 2 different years, but still. What do you got next?
All right. Same year. I've realized that my
67?
favorite 67 Camaro, specifically because if you had the RS trim, you had the hiding lights. You could get. Someone can correct me, but what I was reading is you could order an RS, but in SS spec.
Right.
So the
they had RSSS.
Yeah, so
they
the
had
RS
both.
grill was the one with the hiding lights, which I just think looks so tough and sinister. I mean, especially all black. Like, I think this is one of the sexiest shapes a car has ever had. I just think it's a wonderful looking coupe. Is it a pony car, muscle car? I figured we'd get into that discussion, but I just really like the hiding lamps, and I think this is the best year. And this was before they put side markers on the fenders. So if you wanted, you could like debadge it, but you don't have marker lights. Sorry, it was before they put marker lights on the fenders. So I just think it's a really clean shape.
I agree with you, but I have no Camaros on my list. It's a
Okay.
nice car. They definitely. There's a reason that they are so popular. The design has aged really well. They make great like pro touring builds. They're cool, but they never did anything for me. I've not been I was never that big of a fan of a Camaro. For me, the GM products of this era, I liked the bigger car. It's called the B-body car, whatever the fuck it's called.
You like the Chevelle?
I like the Chevelle, the GTO more, and the GTO was the one who made it on my list. Next, I've got Buick Grand National and GNX.
Which does nothing for me. Continue.
That's okay.
Yeah.
I've driven them before, and boy, do they suck. They drive like shit unless you put 50 grand of stuff in them.
Like Killer Mike's new car. He put
Yeah.
LT9 or whatever, LT4.
Yeah. But there are a couple things about this. One, a muscle car is about attitude, and this car is all attitude and very little substance. And it could be none more black. It is the blackest car that ever was painted black. That documentary about the car basically just talked about how black it was. Did that camera just die?
Yeah.
Oh,
But it's plugged in.
that's weird. Do you want to just like spin that one this way and
I'll switch them. Yeah, that's good.
weird?
Keep going.
Fucking cameras. The Grand National is a couple things about it. One, the fact that it's a Buick. I mean, Buick is not a fun brand. Like, I would say that Buick's not a good brand. I don't know why they still bother making Buicks. Buicks are stupid. But to make this thing when they had the Monte Carlo, also they had other brands. Pontiac was still alive. They could have made this thing a Pontiac, or they could have done, the Monte Carlo SS, which had a V8 version of this. That could have been this, but instead it was a Buick, which is very weird. But also, it was legitimately quick, at least at drag racing. I mean, it didn't drive well, but these things ran 13-second quarter miles out of the box, and that's
Fast.
pretty cool.
Yeah.
And it was sort of the precursor of the modern tuner car with its turbocharged 6-cylinder engine. These things, it was very easy to make a lot of power with these things, and the kind of stuff that you would do to make power in one is sort of similar to what people do today to make power in those cars. And we have one here at WCCS, and even though I don't like how they drive at all, I can't help but find it incredibly charming to look at, and it makes me smile. The interior is just so 80s.
Yeah, extremely.
I actually really like the seats. The seats are very comfortable in these cars. And it's the kind of thing where even though I don't like them, I'd like to have one. Like, I'd love to get the Detroit Speed handling kit and then figure out how to swap a manual transmission in one. And I think that could be fun. And if I see somebody driving one, I smile. I'm into it.
Okay. It's a cool moment in time for sure. And back then, in that age, so many things were slow as fuck, especially a lot of the V8 cars were terrible and underpowered. So this was like this weird breakout.
Yeah, I mean,
this
was the car where it was like, oh, well, we can't make a fast V8 anymore, so what are we going to do?
Yeah.
And it took...
It's kind of like where we're at now.
It took a lot of years. It took a lot of years for them to figure out how to make a fast V8 again. I mean, it wasn't until Ford did a 4-cam Coyote motor and GM started working on LS architecture. I mean, they didn't have good engines for a long time.
Even like mid-90s LSs were like 300 horsepower.
Well, the LT1 was like okay.
Yeah.
The ZR1 motor was great, but that was Mercury Marine and Lotus. I mean,
was it 355 horsepower?
The ZR1,
Yeah.
for the first gen ZR1 was 375, and then it was 405 for the 94, 96 cars. But those were dual overhead cam. Like, those engines were developed like by boat people. Those were fucking Mercury Marine motors that had cooling systems that were not seawater. So anyway, that's why the GNX is on my list. Still very collectible and still very. If you got a big collection, no big car collection is complete without a GNX. You got to have one. Looks great.
If you had a big collection, I would say yes.
Yeah.
I think if I had to have one muscle car, and then I'll be changing eras. Oh wait, that's 2018. Whoops. 68 Charger. Mm-hmm. Which I know I'm still in the 60s, but I don't care because I think this is one of the best looking cars ever made. And I think for me, if I had to choose one muscle car, period, to own, I would get rid of the GTO, even though I've had an allegiance to it. I had a copycat basically. I mean, obviously Musto has one of these, but they had hideaway lights. I think the shape from every angle
and these hideaway
is so
lights.
good. Because what's
hate
funny is I hate
headlights?
pop-up headlights.
You hate headlights.
I do hate headlights.
You're a.
I'm an illuminist. I'm an illuminist. I just think it's such a cool thing that we don't have anymore. And I don't like pop-up headlights because they change the lines of the car when they're up. But with these, it's just the face of these cars, like you said, it has such attitude, such presence. Like they pull in, and it is the tough guy of the parking lot, and that's why a lot of people buy them. I always felt like a tough guy in high school, which I was not. But you don't have headlights. It's like, what's going on behind the eyes of this thing? What's it up to? And I think like the strakes on the door, I can't find a good shot of it, but this has like this wraparound C-pillar where the rear glass is inset.
Yeah.
And it looks like it's going to be really aerodynamic. Of course, then they made like the Superbird, which was crazy aerodynamic. It's got wonderful fender flares that are molded into it. If you look at these from the top, They have almost
Pretty
like wide body
yeah,
kit on them, but
yeah.
they taper in the door at the door. So I just think they
2+2
nailed
with
it.
no B pillar. No B pillar is good.
It is.
Yeah, if you,
know,
got a
windows
if you got
down,
a big 2+2, you want that
There's,
no B pillar. That's excellent. Yeah.
I mean, it's just. I think it's just. I think it's perfect. A little bit of wing on it. Yeah.
Yep. Can't disagree. Lot of attitude there. Shout out to Musto. He's got the good one. Number 3 on my list, 1965 Shelby GT350. Such an important car. Established Shelby as being able to make regular cars go fast too, and not just GT4, not just British roadsters and race cars. Introduced the concept of handling to an American car. Before that, not so important in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
Won a lot of races. Allowed regular folks to buy into homologation racing technology, I think. In my opinion, it one of the best looking, maybe not with these wheels, but one of the best looking American muscle cars from the 60s ever. I think, a set of torque thrusts. Torque thrusts were invented for this car.
Totally.
That's the car where you put those bullet-style torque thrusts on there, and you're good to go. The interior looks very European and great.
The size of these is great.
It's not too big, right size car. And the design was so good that both the British and the Japanese copied this design for a decade. Aston Martin copied it for the DB6 and the Vantage, and both Toyota and Nissan copied it for the Skylines and the Celicas and the Corollas. So many people were copying this design. That's how good it was, and there's a reason they're huge money today, because they're iconic, but they're also very fun to drive.
That's the thing.
Yeah.
Because these weren't super expensive for a while, and clones were really cheap. Like Sam Smith had a clone for a while. And now the regular ones are so much money that then the clones, if they drive well, are tens and tens of thousands of dollars, which is such a bummer. I would love to own one of these. And I agree with you, from a dynamics perspective, I would rather own one of these than the Camaro.
I think these drive better than the Camaros most of the time.
I agree, unless you pro touring the Camaro. But the way that, in period, this was such a rad car.
Yeah. They're a good time, and I think being the first muscle car to even make an attempt at handling, I think is reason enough to be on the list.
I think that's fair. And then this is like the pony car, muscle car thing, but I think they're all kind of lumped together back then.
Sure. A pony car is a muscle car that handles, right?
Yeah.
I guess, and so this would be the car that introduced that concept.
Yeah.
If you want to make that distinction, this is where it started.
Yeah, I agree. Well, speaking of Mustangs, Terminator Cobra.
Oh yeah.
I think. Let me find.
That's a good one.
Quick.
This was Ford's, I'm sorry we sold you a car that had less power than we said. We'll never do that again.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Not my favorite picture, but there you go. Whatever.
Do the one that's showing how rigid the chassis is. Oh, that one.
God, jeez, look at all these ads pop-ups and stuff.
Oh, boy.
Can't even...
Of course it's fucking Motor Trend. Ooh, that one's a good one.
Okay. So, echoing what you said about GNX, I think the Terminator Cobra was a decade later was also a modern muscle car, because it had iron block, right? So it's really robust engine. They put the biggest engine they could build in it. They can handle okay. I've driven two that had good track mods, but they are kind of heavy.
Yeah.
And the interior is a simple, kind of ugly, cheap Mustang interior, as were the 60s cars. But back then, they made more things with metal, so we think they look better. But so this is true to that. I mean, you modify them and you're suddenly making 500-600 horsepower, no problem. They're very overbuilt and robust, just like the cars in the 60s were. I think, again, it's about attitude, it's about performance. And like you said, this was that step towards forced induction V8s that has really lasted, if you go, including turbocharging, into this decade.
Yeah.
And this, plus
independent rear suspension.
The IRS,
This has an independent rear suspension.
And then they got rid of it for a while for some of the Mustangs.
Because it was expensive.
Right. They put it back in.
Yeah.
So this has a kind of forward-thinking technology in it in that regard, but everything else about it is cheap. And they sound so good.
I
Stuck
can't
in my
argue.
brain.
Yeah, this is by far the best New Edge Mustang.
Yeah.
It's the only New Edge Mustang you could even give me.
Mm-hmm.
I've driven a Cobra R a lot, and they are shit piles. And a 2001 Cobra R is junk compared to a Terminator Cobra. I mean, actual junk. That's one of the most overrated Mustangs in history.
It's just a body kit and
It's
some springs.
garbage. Well, it's also a 5.4 liter. It's a truck motor in there, but it's not fast. These are actually quite fast. And they have slightly nicer interiors than the other one. The materials are a little better. The seating position is really weird. And this car's new enough where I can critique things like the seating position. I'm not going to be like, well, the 67 Camaro had an awkward seating position. But like, by the time we got to 03, like, humans should fit
Spine
in.
doctors existed.
You have to reach so far for the shifter in these cars. It's very, very strange.
That's why they put that weird double angle shifter in there, which looked like shit.
And what's worse is if you take that out and put in a short shifter like a B&M or something, they get rid of that double angle thing, and you have to reach so far.
No, you need the long sweep back Hurst thing, which will just look a little better.
The Shelby Cobra shifters, right? That were the reverse. They did it reverse. You need the other way of that.
And those don't feel good to shift either.
But these cars do actually drive really well. They handle well, particularly on bumpy roads, and they're fast.
Yeah.
And the motors are very strong. One of our employees at WCCS has one of these, and even he can't kill it.
And he just put a bigger blower on.
He did. He put the Kenny Bell or something on there, right?
I mean, they're just strong, and they have all the attitude.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This one starts to bridge the gap between muscle car and sports car. I think because of the handling improvements. Not that I disagree with its presence on your list, but it's.
It's funny because the GT350. You would say also bridges that, right?
Same thing.
I think these handle okay stock, but when you put some just suspension on them, I was shocked at how good they were in the canyons.
Yeah, that's a good one though. I next have the 1970 Plymouth Hemi Cuda, the most muscle car of muscle cars in today's era, and that's because it is the most horsepower and most torque of any muscle car of the era, rated at 425 horsepower and 490 torque. It's got great color names, you know. All the color names are really fun for this car. That one in particular, the Plum Crazy, which I like to refer to as statutory grape.
I prefer Plum Crazy Purple. I'm never going to eat plums around you, by the way.
We're a Pluot family. It's okay. We don't eat plums here. Big power, small body, unibody construction, not body on frame, so it's a little more rigid. Again, no B pillar.
Yeah,
love the no B pillar. It's got sort of that Chrysler mouth that you can see is descended from the Charger, which I like. Yeah. And it's got some cartoon about it. The Barracuda is fun. That Hemi engine is descended directly from Motorsport. 0 to 60 in 4.7 seconds in 1970.
That was so fast.
With a 4-speed and bias ply tires is mobbing. And today this is probably the most collectible of all the muscle cars. They regularly sell for 7 figures.
As we spoke about last week, they made very few of them.
Yeah.
I mean, you might see this shape around, but these actual cars, I think it was a couple hundred.
Yeah, it's there to see an actual 70 426 Hemi Cuda 4-speed is very rare.
Yeah.
And so it is the muscle carist of the muscle cars.
Yeah, and they're still a manageable size.
Yeah, they're not enormous.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's a good segue because one of mine is the 2018 Challenger Hellcat wide body. And I don't like the new Challenger. I think it's too big. It feels much bigger than the Mustangs and the Camaros of the same year.
It's ginormous.
It's a lot bigger than this car, but when you put the wide body on it, it handles much better. And I think the proportions work better. And going back to like traditional muscle cars, they didn't really handle that well. They were a fuck ton of power. Turns, figure it out for yourself. That's not what we're about.
Yeah.
And I think the Hellcat Challenger does that really well, and I like the wide body because I think it works better, it looks better, it handles a little better. It feels a little bit more modern, whereas the non-wide body one, or something like the 2013 GT500, you know, all motor.
And nothing
the rest
else.
of it is like, oh, we forgot about that.
Yeah.
So that's why 2018 Hellcat for me.
Yeah, if you ever see a Hellcat, particularly a wide body car, parked right next to a 1970 Cuda, it looks like those photos of the current 911 parked next to like a 67 911,
Right.
where the overall shape is similar, but the scale is like totally different. Like it's like on 1.5.
Yeah.
You know, it's just the scale is so weird. Hard to argue with the attitude of the current gen wide body Hellcat and all its variants. You know, their fact that they've now that Demon Final Edition, whatever's 170, this and that thing, you know, is a factory 8-second car. Is crazy. I mean, it's real crazy. So yeah, in today's world, that's really the last muscle car. That I mean, I suppose electric cars, but that's not the attitude that a muscle car really stands for.
Yeah.
This did not make it on my list, but I suppose I probably could have taken off one of my old cars and put on the current Hellcat because. There's a reason. This is like an old rudimentary design, and yet it's like it outsells like the Mustang and Camaro like every year.
Yeah.
There is an appetite for this.
Yeah,
There's an
definitely.
appetite for cheap speed. There's an appetite for rear wheel drive. There's an appetite for big, brutish, you know, cars that handle just well enough, you know.
I mean, they're a good time. Every time we've gotten a Hellcat press car, it's just a good time.
They are a good time.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're a good time. So I don't disagree with your including that one on there. Certainly post wide body is the way to go.
Yes,
Yeah,
definitely.
The last one on my list is the Superbird. Plymouth Superbird. It is one of the most interesting muscle cars ever. It is a true homologation race car.
Yep.
It exists only so that they could go racing in NASCAR. Of course, inextricably linked to Richard Petty. They used the design to steal him over from, I think it was GM. I want to say he was racing for Pontiac before Plymouth took him, but it might have been, I don't know. Either way, it was for Richard Petty. First ever American car designed in a wind tunnel, which is very interesting. It is 78 feet long, which makes it
so
really
big.
interesting. It was so good at racing that NASCAR banned it after 1 year. They banned the wing cars because it was so dominant. And it's got, you know, the Looney Tunes shit, which I love. Literal Looney Tunes. Like it literally has like the Speedy Gonzalez meep meep.
Right, because it's Roadrunner.
'Cause it was Roadrunner.
Plymouth Roadrunner,
Yeah.
Superbird, right?
Yeah.
It's built off of a Plymouth Roadrunner.
Yeah.
Which, yes, meep meep. I mean, the horn really
Yeah,
does that.
it literally has like a Looney Tunes copyrighted
The Superbird is 221 inches long.
Yep, length of a Suburban.
Yep.
Two-door car, length of a Suburban.
The wheelbase is 115.
That's some overhang.
It has a lot of overhang.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, nothing
at
contends like
NASCAR
this.
height, it is much better looking. Like, look at the sports car market picture. The street version looks so lame compared to the NASCAR version. Like, that is a sad looking car.
Yeah.
The NASCAR version is really where it's at.
Well, I mean, look, you need to fill out these fenders with
Mm-hmm.
tire width. I don't really like the black headlight trim thing up front. The body,
Yeah.
the ride height's too tall.
Yeah, you
but
gotta
now
have
over
a-
here,
gotta have a color
You
matched.
need meaty fitment.
Yeah.
which is great. Instagram follow, by the way. Or even this, like I've never seen blue wheels I liked, but this looks pretty rad.
that kind of works.
Red body with blue wheels.
Yeah,
I'm
I
into
love
it.
when they put the vinyl top on that thing too.
Yeah,
No, I
what a
don't.
car.
I'm anti-vinyl top, but
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, two of my five are homologation race cars, and that's for a good reason. That's what I like.
Mm-hmm.
And when you take a muscle car and put that on it, and make it so dominant in NASCAR that they ban the technology, I'm into it.
Look at this cone. I mean, the
It's so
length added
silly.
to the nose of the standard Roadrunner.
of an already insanely long car.
Yeah, the Roadrunner's big. I mean, it's like any, I guess, 60s muscle car. They're big, but this thing just makes it a foot and a half longer. So
Yeah, nuts.
yeah. Let's see, is that 5 each?
It's my 5 for me. Do you have another one on there?
Yes, my last one, which debatable whether or not it's a muscle car, but the modernist era, CT5V Blackwing. So, is it a super sedan? Yes.
That's interesting.
Is it a muscle car? I mean, I think we've talked about this when we reviewed this car. It's kind of both. Like, it has all the attitude in the world of a Hellcat or an older car. It's got all the power. It has all the sound. It can rip burnouts, all day long. But it also is like one of the best handling sedans ever made.
Yeah,
So
I
I don't
kind
know.
of disagree with this one, actually. I think this car is way too nice. Muscle cars have to be kind of shitty. They have to be, the speed has to be, particularly straight line speed, has to be the thing. And it needs to be at the expense of some other shit. It needs to be cheap. It needs to like only handle okay and only have kind of like okay brakes.
To take your argument and put it against yourself, let's go back to GT350.
Yeah.
Very balanced car. Now, road course speed was its outright goal,
Right.
but it turned and stopped, and it handled and braked better than anything else on the other showrooms. So this is
Sure.
almost like...
But it still had like a
continuation of that.
regular ass like Mustang interior. Like it didn't have a Cadillac's interior.
It's true. This is a luxury brand. That's
Yeah.
fair.
This
now,
has massage seats.
Oh, if you opt for them.
It has
Yeah,
carbon ceramic brakes.
It's definitely a... Well, I bet the GT350 would have had carbon ceramic brakes if that even existed.
Maybe.
They were probably happy. How many discs
I mean,
did that have?
they
4?
don't fucking now.
GT500?
The 500 does. The 350 did not. The
Couldn't you opt
16
those
to
on
19.
350?
No, it
Or-
didn't have carbon ceramics.
No?
No. They had iron. They were good, but they were iron.
Kind of surprised they wouldn't option
Yeah.
that.
500, they got carbon ceramics. Yeah.
Too expensive. That car's insane.
Yeah, the 500 is nuts.
Yeah, I don't know. This was a little bit of a stretch, but I just felt like we're at the end of this era, I think. So
Yeah, but remember when this car came out and they were like, this is it, we're done after this, and then they just announced like the refresh of this car?
yeah, which
Like-
I think is basically the same.
Yeah, but like, were they lying?
The sales were too good, I guess. It's this and Suburbans, or Escalade. Sorry.
These are great. When I went to go do the Road and Track HQ 400 with my dad, I booked one of these so far in advance, and I was so bummed out when it got crashed and I
Yeah.
couldn't fucking drive it, and I had to drive that BMW with the awful seats. I was so looking forward to doing 600 miles in this car. It is the best car for like everything.
Yeah, that's true. I guess if this got thrown out, I would just throw back in the 2013 GT500 because I
Yeah.
had that as honorable mention because that puts speed and power above everything else.
That's
and
a proper muscle car.
it didn't go as fast as it said. They said it would go over 200, and I think Car and Driver tried to prove that.
one
or
of the
confirm it,
magazines couldn't
and
do
they
it.
had they did Hyundai's Oval, I think, and they couldn't do it. So they said maybe with a tailwind on a cold day.
Yeah.
So.
I think this one is this is much more in the vein of the BMW M5 sports sedan category.
Yep.
More so than a muscle car, although it's got the muscle car engine for sure.
That's
But
fair.
no argument that it is one of the best cars of all time. It is absolutely one of the best cars of all time.
Well, if the listeners or the viewers let us know what you think about our selections, and of
Make
course
your own
choose
lists.
your own.
Yeah. Make your own lists in the comments, people. Do we have some things from the Patreon we can
Many.
get to? Many? Okay. Well, patreon.com/The Smoking Tire Podcast. Support the program. Get an ad-free listening experience. Ask us questions for the show. Get the show ahead of time. All kinds of fun things. And get, oh my God, that's way too many. There's absolutely no way we're going to be able to do all of those. So we will do as many as we have a brain power for. Yeah?
Sure, get some Ritalin, and we'll settle in.
Woo! David says, I recently heard someone say that BMW's new manual gearboxes are like a Chili's or Applebee's in the middle of nowhere. Get the job done in a pinch when there's nothing around, but there's so much better out there made by people who care about what they're doing. I don't know about this culinary experiences thing, but to address your point, offering manuals is better than not offering manuals, bar none. Period. That's there. If you care about building sports cars, offering a manual should be a priority. But then the next thing is that you should care if that manual is very good.
Yeah.
Like there's more to it than a lever that moves around.
Yeah.
There are companies that really put a lot of thought into how that shifter feels. Honda, for instance. Even Toyota in the Supra has taken a BMW Getrag gearbox and made it feel really, really good. BMW themselves say that with the new Z4 that they've put a lot of time into how the shifter feels, and we haven't tried it yet, but I believe them. So there's more than just having a manual gearbox. You want it to be a good one.
Yeah, and I stumbled on a forum
Subaru,
like months ago
doing?
where they were talking about a cable you could swap in on a 911, which was like a little bit tighter, a little firmer, a little more tightly wound, so it made the shifter feel even more accurate. So and that was a motorsport part, but like that's one of the things you can do to change things.
Oh, the 996s. You do with the 996. It's out of the Cup car.
Yes,
it's the
that's
cup,
exactly
It's
right.
the Cup car cable shifter swap for 996s. Somebody we know, Jethro, did that.
Yeah.
Jethro did it in his 996 and said the difference was...
So like stuff like that.
Yeah.
I mean, rod actuated shifters usually feel better, but they're less common now because they're so much more expensive to build. But then there's like bushing changes and shifter length, obviously. And even, I think it was with the Civic Type R, the mounting structure where they mounted like the pivot point was reinforced to add feel for that. So I don't know about the culinary thing. Like I don't want to come across like a snob and the Singer shifting or the Gunther is equal to your $400 omakase, whatever.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I understand where David was going with that, but we don't need to get into the weeds with comparing shifters to restaurants. I think the point is they should be good. Ivan says, thoughts on manual swapping cars. Is it worth the hassle for a better driving experience? And what cars would benefit the most from one?
I mean, Lord, yes.
Yeah, I mean, I spent a ton of money manual swapping an Aston Martin Vanquish, completely changed the game.
Yep. That Vorsteiner M3, they should swap it to a manual tomorrow, and then that car's, amazing and flawless.
I mean, most of the time, the cars that benefit the most are the cars that are in that transitionary period where automatic, semi-automated gearboxes, whether they're Ferrari's, quote, F1, Lamborghini's E-Gear, whatever it is, those were garbage. And so just swapping it to what the factory was offering in a manual is going to improve that experience. It could be the Ferrari 355, 360, 430. It could be the Lamborghini Gallardo or Mercy. It could be the BMW SMGs. I mean, all of those are the Aston Martin Vanquish or Vantage. I don't know if anyone has a swap kit for a Vantage yet, but in every case, assuming the parts are of a high standard of quality, your driving experience will be improved.
And it also makes the car, it doesn't age it. It reverse ages it a bit because manual experience is something that we have liked from old cars to new cars. But this, like you said, the transitionary automated manual, single clutch F1 stuff, like it feels like the past and it's not a good execution compared to where we are today. But the manual hasn't really changed technologically. So you can just make that thing almost be like, remove the variable and you go, I like this, and then you will probably like the rest of the car more.
Yeah. What happened with the Aston Martin was it immediately removed it from the aging curve. Analog stuff, it could be this pen, it could be a coffee grinder or one of those crazy Burkle deli slicers that's like $50,000 with the hand crank. Stuff where the technology that rapidly evolves is no longer a watch movement. If you're not dependent on a computer that's a throwaway, rapidly improving device, now you're frozen in time. That's good. Yeah. Jeremy Costco says the 2005 Mustang was redesigned to look like a 35 to 40-year-old Mustang. Today, that same time span would fall squarely in the Fox body era. With the success of modern boxy car designs, should the 2024 Mustang have been a Fox body throwback rather than just having Fox body gauges? Don't ask me because I would say yes. I would say notch back everything. So I think, well, your math is accurate there, but I think that the 60s Mustang is still even more iconic than the Fox body Mustang design. You know what I mean? And I also don't know if the Fox body throwback design would lend itself to the size of today's cars. You know, like a 2015 or a current Mustang is that silhouette of the late 60s Mustang. But they're also both kind of like big. Whereas a Fox body, part of the appeal of that is that it's small.
True.
And if you built a Fox body on, like we just discussed, Dodge Challenger scale, I think it would look stupid as hell.
How big is a GNX? I wonder if it would look like that. Because they have kind of similar...
GNX is bigger than a Fox body,
yeah, they have
sure.
similar like tail and hood proportion.
Yeah.
But I totally agree with you.
I don't think... it's okay. You gonna die over there?
I don't know what's going on.
Yeah. Sean says, if you didn't live near the canyons or good driving roads, what would you drive?
I mean, it depends on if there's weather and all these other things.
I wouldn't want to live somewhere that doesn't have good roads.
If you live somewhere where let's say you live, I don't know, Texas, so it's highway stuff all the time. I'd have something extremely quiet and fuel efficient that is like a spa, and then I would have something very loud and fast in a straight line, like a turbocharged Vet or something insane.
One of those Black Wings would do it. That's just as good. That's great on a long straight highway. I mean, I couldn't live somewhere that it doesn't have a mountain or an ocean. I need to have one of those two things. And if I had an ocean and no mountain, I'd have a boat. You know? Or if I had a mountain and no ocean, I would have sports cars and vice versa. But like, man, I couldn't live somewhere that didn't have the option of having good driving roads.
Yeah.
And if I did, I'd find another hobby.
Well, yeah, of course.
But my hobby led me to this place because I wanted the hobby to be the job, and this is where that happens.
I think I would just have a drift car.
Yeah, you could do that too.
Find a track.
You have a track
something.
car.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ali Danishvar. Did Toyota Lexus make the right strategic choice to make the new GX a luxury forerunner for off-roading instead of a less aggressive Land Cruiser purposed for customers that... Okay, wait. That last sentence doesn't make sense. A luxury forerunner for off-roading rather than a less aggressive Land Cruiser for street driving. Well, we're driving the new GX in a couple of weeks, so we can revisit this once we actually drive it. I will say that it looks very nice. I like the boxy look. I think it's cool. And the Lexus GX in America, in other countries, is a Toyota Land Cruiser Prado. So the Toyota, that car has always been a lower priced Land Cruiser. And the defining it as a Land Cruiser defines its toughness of build. Land Cruiser componentry is like more rugged, higher quality, more durable, and has a longer shelf life. And the Prados had that, and that's why the Lexus GX is such a nice, even in the used market, is such a nicer thing than an old 4Runner. So I think that Toyota, like we talked about at the beginning of the show, embracing boxiness is a good move for today's customers. And people want their SUVs to be a little more rugged and a little bit less egg-like. So I think it is, but we haven't driven it yet.
Well, I also think the GX for a while, it was such a good off-roader, but it looked like almost too luxurious. So people didn't really, like, there's the generation Vinny has, which looked tough. But then with the newer ones, for me, it just blended in with the rest of the Lexus SUVs. And you go, no, underneath here is a lot of good hardware. But it looked like just you'd see it at a country club. And so now I think it actually does a better job of advertising its abilities. And I think, like you said, a lot of people will want that, whether they off-road it or not. It's why Defender sales are hot. It's why G-Wagons are hot. People like having something that is capable and also looks like it's capable.
Christian says, I'm sure Pekla is very profitable. That's Porsche Experience Center, Los Angeles. How come Lambo, Ferrari, or McLaren haven't built experience centers? Well, first off, Christian, I don't know that it's very profitable. It might be a marketing loss leader. They might not make a dime down there. And I don't necessarily think either you or I know for sure, and Porsche ain't telling us.
Yeah.
So building racetracks is very, very expensive, especially if you're doing them in cities like Porsche has done. And Porsche is also a very different company from Lambo, Ferrari, and McLaren. McLaren doesn't sell anything under $200,000. Ferrari doesn't sell anything under $300,000. Porsche sells Macans and Cayennes and Panameras and Boxsters and Caymans all under $100,000. And what Porsche wants is to get you into their ecosystem and learn why a Porsche is like a regular car that just drives better. And so if they get you on the track driving, they can get you on the track driving Macans. They can get you on their little course driving a Cayenne. They can, and they want you to think of a complete Porsche lifestyle. Whereas that McLaren doesn't have the money to build racetracks, and Ferrari doesn't need that.
Right.
Ferraris sell themselves, and Lamborghini, as part of the Volkswagen Audi group, which includes Porsche, the cheapest car they sell is $300,000. So they don't. It's not like they're trying to get people to dream of an Aventador, but buy this $50,000 crossover that's badged a Lamborghini. Porsche wants you in that ecosystem. And so I don't know if it's profitable, but it's definitely a way to get butts in the seats in a high-performance test driving experience, associate high-performance driving with that brand, and then maybe you buy a Macan T.
Yeah. And then maybe you aspire for 911 or Cayman or whatever. It's the best like dealership test drive experience that exists, even if you pay money for it.
Yeah.
Because you go, I can experience the top tier.
Yeah.
And then I buy the other tier, which is like, that's how marketing works.
Yeah.
But this is hands-on.
Yeah, like when my dad was at Ralph Lauren, he goes, we're not going to sell a purple label suede coat to everybody for $4,000, but I bet you 80% of the population of America has a polo T-shirt or socks or underwear.
Yeah.
And that's what keeps the thing going. I mean, Porsche's not making their profits aren't all from optioned up GT3s. They're from Macans and Panameras and Cayennes that are sold to regular people who want to live the Porsche lifestyle. And so, I mean, I hope they're not like losing their ass on the experience centers. They probably aren't, but like I wouldn't assume that as a standalone business is necessarily profitable. And there are probably other ancillary benefits, such as, and it's an event rental space. They have the motorsport shop there, so they service race cars there in a way that they can't do at dealers, and just stuff like that. Yeah. Jared says, it feels like I come across misinformation in the car community more often than others. Would you agree? And if so, why do you think that is? Have you ever read about politics? Well, I think there is a lot of misinformation in the car community. Is it more than others? I don't necessarily agree with that. I think all of these. All enthusiast communities have some kind of misinformation in it. I think. Do you think that?
I don't. That's hard. I think cars are so complicated. There's driving. There's the mechanics of it. There's the tuning of things, the building of engines, the engineering. I think there are a lot of aspects to it, and we've had a lot of knowledge get passed down through generations, and a lot of that before the internet was hearsay. Like you talk to someone and they would say, oh, but when you go into a corner, you got to do this. And then you find out that person is an idiot and has crashed 3 cars. There's a lot of stuff like that. Or here's how you build an engine and they might be wrong, or you overtune something. So I think it's a passionate community, but I think there are so many aspects to and ways to be involved in it that leads to like more branches on the tree for misinformation to travel. Yeah. And I think the fact that it continues, someone told this person, hey, we gave you a transmission tune that added 50 horsepower. That doesn't exist. Yeah. Definitely not with the GR86. But the person that they believe that from a dealership, and then they pass it to somebody else. And if no one checks that, it just goes. Yeah. I think that people people that believe certain types of people are experts
because they work at certain types of jobs. I mean, you with your fiance shopping for cars. You've ran into a whole bunch of people who worked at dealerships that didn't know shit.
True.
I have gone to dealerships and found salespeople that don't know shit. And so there are certainly enthusiasts who work at dealers, particularly certain types of dealers, and in certain departments. But I've seen the same thing in other places. The watch collecting thing, in tech, in all kinds of stuff. So I don't think it's more than others, but a car is a big, expensive purchase, and people who know. People like to brag about their car to other people, and they often don't know that much about what they're bragging about, such as this hypothetical 50 horsepower transmission tune.
Yeah. I think there's also a lot of, and this is true in any hobby, people like to, you almost want to solidify yourself by being an expert or being knowledgeable and like going, oh, I'm going to share a piece of knowledge with you that I learned, which makes me feel cool and makes you respect me in the hobby, and then, makes me like be a part of this tribe. And so that's a way misinformation spreads. You go, like, by the way, this has an extra cool thing. And if it does, people might go, oh, that's rad. But if you're wrong, they're like, you think this has a transmission tune?
Yeah.
So that'll help you shift quicker.
Yeah.
But
doesn't add power.
Doesn't add power.
Can't add power by messing with the transmission.
Nope.
You could improve if you changed it, you could improve your gear ratios, which could improve performance, but it doesn't change your power.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Big Ben said, watch question, what do you think of the Omega Planet Ocean? I like the Omega Planet Ocean. It's a big watch. It's a big kind of thick, chunky watch, but it's very high quality. I happen to like the ones with the orange on the bezel. I think that's fun. I don't really like the chronographs because they're even bigger and chunkier. But I like the ones like that the blue one there, the big blue on the right. Yeah, that one. The orange and then the big blue I like a lot. There's a black one that I like. Very high quality, great depth rating, great for all your activities, variety of different straps. Good everyday watch. Jeremy Clarkson wears a Omega Planet Ocean.
Oh.
He's an Omega guy. That's too many words. Can't do it. Haley says, I may have my facts wrong, but I believe you had some experience with the Saleen S7 back in the day. I was wondering how you thought the Saleen compared to the sort of holy grail manual supercars like the Carrera GT, F50, etc., etc. On paper, it seems like the S7 should be right there, but I never hear about them. Does the car just not deliver that kind of experience, or is it too low in production to make a splash? I didn't like the S7. We did have it at the rental company. It was a very successful race car. It was a perfect example of something that was a race car first and a homologation street car second, and it made a great race car and it didn't make a great street car. Now, Rob Ferretti, who was my boss at the time, actually liked driving it a lot, but he's a tiny little guy and I'm a big guy. And so I didn't fit in it. I found it to be very awkward. It was kind of broken a lot. In fact, I think that is, I believe, our rental car in that picture. It was basically, I think Walkinshaw was somehow involved in the actual car. I mean, look at it. It's a fucking race car.
Yeah, it almost has a long tail.
Yeah.
I never really realized how long this rear overhang looks. But man, it looks like a McLaren F1 turned up a little bit. Yeah,
even those other cars, the Carrera GTs, the F50s, those feel like cars that are developed for the road. I mean, they're pretty easy to use. The stick shift Mercies, and they're cars. I mean, they're very high performance and very engaging and very fast. But they're fully developed cars. This is a race car that they put an interior in. And it's pretty rough. It's like that Koenig,
like the GT1.
Yeah,
GT1.
Or the Koenig 962 or any of those kind of stuff where the novelty is I'm driving a race car on the street and it's barely street legal, but it's a highly compromised design for a street car. So I'm not that into it, but they're very collectible. They're very valuable. If you've got a massive collection of cars, like okay, but they're not for me. You gotta be very small to drive one of those. Michael Cosgrove says, what muscle car would you like to give the Pro Touring treatment?
Boat tail riv.
Oh.
It's not even a muscle car. It was made, that's just one of the best shapes.
I would do a cruising focused Pro Touring boat tail riv. I'd want an automatic gearbox. Like, I wouldn't want to turn it into a sports car, but slam it on bags, healthy, small cam LS motor, 6-speed automatic, keep it tight. Here's a profile. I mean, I love a boat tail riv. I love the interior. I love the aesthetic. Very underappreciated. Can you find a Pro Touring one? Can we just add that to the search term? Mm-hmm. See what one looks like on a nice set of wheels. See that? I think there was an optional center console that this particular one we're looking at doesn't have.
Yeah, because look how big this seat is.
Yeah.
So
there was a bench and there was a center console option. Pro Touring boat tail Riviera. Let's see what one looks like on some wheels, some nice wheels. Oh, see there. Yeah, I mean that right there. See that's all day slammed on some. I don't know if those wheels specifically are my taste, but like that's the vibe.
Little rubber bandy, maybe. This is an earlier car. Yeah, it's 63. That's the wrong year.
Yeah, go down. Oh, like that. Down right. Well, that one. That one's that one's kind of cool actually. Some white walls.
Yeah, I don't like these wheels. I mean, I
think those might be the stock wheels.
I think they are. I just don't like them. Here, get rid of the scoop.
Those are the torque thrust like GTO wheels. That one's kind of a vibe.
Kind of a dragster vibe.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Is that real? Did someone turn one into a track car, or is that CGI'd out?
That looks real.
That looks pretty weird and pretty cool.
Wow.
That's pretty
legit.
That's pretty funky. Oh wow! Look at that.
Optima streetcar.
Oh, so that's a first gen Riv, but they turned it into a boat tail.
Yeah, it's got the first gen lights. Right?
Oh, that's funky. That's a Riddler winning build. So anyway, yeah, boat tail Riv. Oh, there we go. Left side there, some chromes, black. Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
I'd have to play with the wheels to make it look right, but that's kind of the vibe. Yeah, that'd be excellent. Anonymity says, car buying advice for a person moving to the USA for an 11-month stay.
I asked him on Patreon, I said, how much money do you have? Where are you living? Like, I feel like we need more information. Anonymity. You asked a lot of questions. We appreciate it. But it's like, which part? Are you going to live in Texas? Or are you going to live in Colorado? Or are you going to live in Canyon?
You may want to look into Swap a Lease. So Swap a Lease is a service where people are looking to get out of their leases early. And so you can find cars that
you with a Mach-E.
You can find cars that, my sister wanted to get out of her Volt. When she moved back to East Coast and got married, her husband already had a car. They didn't need 2 cars at the time. So rather than ship this leased Volt to the East Coast for what would have only been like 8 months, she put it on Swap a Lease and had someone take over the lease. So you can go on this site and you can find someone who's got a lease that has a year left on it and maybe take over their lease for just the price of the payments. Now, you have to have pretty good credit. I don't know if you're an international, if you're not an American, I'm not sure that may be a disqualifier. I certainly haven't looked into that specifically, but that may be a thing where rather than dealing with buying a car and then selling it or dealing with anything like that, that may be, yeah. Aiden Squires, have I ever gotten into cassette tapes for my vintage cars? Nah, I don't really give a shit. Donnie gave me something for the Ferrari. What did he put in the car?
Tapes don't sound great,
like Motley Crue or something he put in my Ferrari.
I've never heard a tape played through like a modern stereo. So I don't know, do tapes have good data?
Not really.
Not really?
It's not that great, no. It's not something I need to. What I want is to play music off my phone.
Yeah.
There's just nothing more convenient from that. Let's see. Mr. Pitt says, I want to teach my wife how to drive stick, but don't want to risk my M3's clutch, and I don't want to buy another vehicle. What should I do? Turo a car. Oh. They don't. He says he doesn't want to Turo a car. That if you're putting your manual transmission car on Turo, that is the fucking risk you're taking. that people are going to use your car for that.
I mean, I respect him because you're like, I don't want to damage someone else's manual transmission. I think I would look for there. We've discovered in Sarah's rental month that there are a lot of companies, like large companies, that have a fleet of 30 cars and they run on Turo. I mean, they're basically a Hertz. I wouldn't feel bad about teaching someone to drive manual on like a rented Civic from a large company.
Sure.
I would feel bad doing it from someone who's like, this is my car that I rent out 4 days a week and then I use on the weekend. So I do respect that.
I wouldn't. I mean, I'm not saying that you should go take this car and do burnouts, but I'm saying that if someone is putting their car on Turo, that is the risk.
I feel like if I was renting a manual car out, I would assume that people coming to rent it know how to drive a manual.
Oh, I
transmission.
certainly would not. This is a very, very, I mean, that's a pretty standard thing. It's not, I don't even think by suggesting it that I'm outside of the bounds here.
I'm not mad at you. I do not think his second question was, do driving simulators emulate true clutch engagement? No. When you let the clutch out, it's all visual. Like you don't feel any of the vibration coming through the pedal on driving simulators. I feel like that's not a good representation.
Yeah. No, I would straight up Turo car or assume or Google driving schools and see if a driving school has a manual transmission instruction class.
I would do that first.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But like, I don't think, particularly because of what you said, there are now entire businesses with fleets of cars on Turo where this isn't,
That's what I'm saying.
It's not someone's personal toy.
I would rent someone's fleet-owned Civic.
Yeah.
Or maybe Miata with a manual.
Yeah. Robert says, I'm looking to get a better GT car than my C6 Vet that I can, for cross-country trips, that can fit minimum 4 people with luggage and tools. What kind of depreciated super sedan would you choose for under $50K? Looking at used S8s and wondering if Audi reliability repairs are that bad. Yes, they are. You want a Lexus LS, my friend. Lexus LS is exactly the car for you. That's what right? Long distance touring car, 4 people with a bunch of luggage.
Yeah.
Depreciated super sedan. Man, to me, that's all Lexus. If maintenance is a concern. Now, Vinny has a used Alpina B7, which is delightful. It drives great. I really enjoy it. But everything for it is expensive.
He just said the valve job it needs is in 19 hours, and some places prefer to just buy a different engine, service it outside the car, and then swap them.
Yeah.
That's not good.
Yeah. I mean, all depreciated German sedans are going to be expensive to maintain. Having said that, I've heard that the naturally aspirated, like 07 to 11 Mercedes S-classes are pretty good. I would say I actually liked the Mercedes E350 diesel. I thought that thing got like 30 miles a gallon, 34 miles a gallon on the highway.
Yeah.
That was great, and that would fit 4 people
Or the wagon
comfortably.
Vinny had. Did you just say that? The
The
Beamer
Mercedes 328D. That may not fit 4 people comfortably, depending on your height.
That's
may or
true.
may not. A used Audi S8 sounds really expensive to me.
Yeah, it'd be awesome, but
Yeah. Let's see. What does that say? Cassidy says, wondering if you'll be getting the new Volvo V60 Polestar engineered for review. The straight pipes had good things to say. Didn't we drive that?
V60 Polestar engineered? We drove it a while ago.
Yeah, but is it new?
Yeah.
Is it?
2024, and it's got...
Man, Volvos do so poorly in the fucking numbers. It's too bad because I really like them. I like driving them, and nobody gives a fuck.
It's a small market.
Every Volvo we drive is straight dog shit.
And I think this is also plug-in hybrid.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that won't do great
Yeah.
for
It's too
us.
bad because
It's a great car.
they drive really, really good. I
Yeah.
really like them, but nobody cares. So probably not. Let's do like 2 more and then get out of here. Jeremiah Dicklesworth III, looking at doing a Car Trek style adventure. I like how these used to be called Top Gear challenges, and Car Trek has taken their
Generational
branding.
change.
Good for them. 2 or 3 buddies with a car each. Buy cars on the West Coast and drive them back to the East Coast. Looking for great roads we will hit along the drive. Looking for Oh. Wait. Oh, he wants us to, like, plan this fucking thing? Dude, who knows? Great roads across? I have absolutely no idea.
You have to use Google Maps, my friend.
I mean, you want to use you can look at the backcountry discovery routes.
There's that new app we found called like Curve. It's like curve.io.
Yeah.
And that
Curve Hunter? No, Curve something.
Let me look it up.
Is like the motorcycle one that's for finding windy roads. That one's good.
roadcurvature.com.
Okay.
It's awesome, though.
Is it?
Yes. I think I sent it to you because it like color codes the
Good
road depending on the shape of it. So,
that's good.
This is crazy.
So can you punch in on something?
Yeah.
Keep going. This looks like fucking lint on my couch.
Yeah, but look, it's like, okay, so if the color's pink, it's very twisty. If it's red, it's pretty twisty. If it's yellow, it's not.
I want to see, zoom in more. Like how long are these lengths of? These are pretty short little sections it's highlighting, huh?
I feel like, we need to find like tail.
I wonder, can you make a route and then like, or is it just
I don't know.
I don't know. Interesting. It's an interesting idea.
It's one thing to add to your arsenal.
We'll figure this out. There's like an FAQ there, how to use it and whatever. So that's a good one to look for roads. Yeah, that's a good one. Also, I mean, if you want to drive on dirt roads, the backcountry discovery routes have those maps of how to drive across entire states off road, and that is fun. One more.
Yeah, I was just scrubbing down. You want to be? You saw the thing caught on fire.
Oh, this is kind of funny. Shucky Ducky Quack Quack got an all-wheel drive 3rd gen Sienna as a family car. I think they look good both when they're lowered or when they are lifted. What would be better, lower or lifted, or neither, since the wife will be driving mostly?
Well, what's her commute like?
I would say leave the thing alone. But I mean, I think lifted would be fun.
More useful.
But if you're just driving it like around, I would not mess with it.
Yeah. Lowering it will make it more difficult to get in and out of driveways, which that will make it less practical.
It'll make it ride worse.
Lifting it will reduce its efficiency slightly. So if I had to choose one or the other, I would go lifted.
Yeah.
Yeah. But probably neither.
Yeah, probably neither. All right. Well, that's our show. We'll save the rest for the next cruise show. There are some more in there that we didn't get to today, but we thank all of our patrons for their questions. Please leave your thoughts on our muscle car main topic on this one. We are back tomorrow.
Yes.
Tomorrow, we've got John Wells in studio. John is the head designer for Morgan. Our main topic will be our favorite British roadsters. And John's going to talk about the new Morgan Super 3, which Zach and I just drove, and what else is going on over in Malvern, UK, where cars are no longer made of wood. So stop saying that. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you later.